Much of today's Jamaica Magazine journey takes us outside. You're about to enjoy a fully immersive experience of the island's flora and fauna while looking at government's efforts to continually protect some of these treasures. As always, we're happy to spend time with you. This Wednesday's experience begins right now.
Good day, I'm Stephen McHugh, and this is your JIS News for Wednesday, July 13. Public sector families can expect to see improvements in their compensation packages. That's due to government updating and restructuring its compensation for paternity, maternity, and family leave. On Tuesday, Minister of Finance and the Public Service, Dr. Nigel Clarke, announced the state's intention to introduce paternity leave for the first time in the public service for fathers of newborns. Plans are also afoot to introduce family leave for adoptive parents bringing a new child into the home. And maternity leave will be extended from 40 days to 3 calendar months. Dr. Clarke says the changes signal the direction in which the government wants the society to move.
We're putting the country's money where the country's values are, or where our values are, and seeking to also bring a line to include the modern day reality of adoption, and also to include fathers who are important elements of the family unit, and recognizing that today's family unit often consists of 2 working parents as opposed to several decades ago when family units often had 1 working parent.
Minister Clarke says the appropriate circular to give effect to these changes in the civil service will be sent out by September 30. He also urged the private sector to follow the government's lead to improve family structures across the island. Ground is to be broken this weekend for construction of the long-awaited Montego Bay Perimeter Road. A $274.5 million contract was signed between the Ministry of Economic Growth and Job Creation and China Harbor Engineering Company Limited, CHEC, last November for the undertaking. The scope of works include the construction of over 14 kilometers of roadway to bypass the city and ease traffic congestion affecting the area. Other developments include the rehabilitation of Barnett Street and West Green Avenue, the construction of the Long Hill Bypass, and a drainage study is to be done. Member of Parliament for St. James West Central, Marlene Malahoo Fort, said she's excited about the solution that the Perimeter Road project offers.
Anyone who travels through St. James knows the nightmare it can be with traffic congestion. And the road is meant to ease that congestion and to allow persons to go through without jamming up the town, and also to assist persons getting to and from the airport within a 15 to 20 minutes time frame.
Land acquisition to facilitate roadworks is ongoing. State-owned vehicles are to be converted to electric vehicles, EVs, as soon as the government completes its EV trial program. The program launched recently will see 5 government entities test driving Build Your Dreams BYD electric vehicles for a 6-week period. The vehicles were handed over Friday at the Jaguar Land Rover showroom by Stewart's Automotive Group and EV distributors Flash Motors Company Limited. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says the EV trial program will complement the now completed electric mobility policy for the public sector transportation sector. It's also expected to give policymakers a first-hand understanding of what it means to drive and use an electric vehicle. Through the program, the state will collect data which will inform the build-out of an electric vehicle ecosystem on the island.
Just to be clear, the transition cannot happen without the instrumental coordination of the government. It is not intended that consumers on their own decide to bring in an electric vehicle and we don't have provisions for charging. We don't understand how those vehicles work specific to the Jamaican terrain.
The government electrical regulator, GER, is looking to improve Jamaica's Global Competitiveness Index ranking within a year. That's the expectation expressed by the GER's acting chief electrical regulator, Seymour Walters. Mr. Walters says the regulatory body, which began full operation in November 2021, has already started the work. Among them, the implementation of the GER's digital portal, which connects customers to 667 registered electricians and 181 licensed electrical inspectors across the island.
By implementing that portal now, it is much easier, it is more transparent, it is more even user-friendly.
Efficient.
More efficient, and by so doing, that allows the ranking, Jamaica competitiveness, to improve.
Mr. Walters was speaking at a recent JIS think tank. In 2019, Jamaica recorded its highest score on the Global Competitiveness Report published by the World Economic Forum. The international body assesses, ranks, and reports on the competitiveness landscape of countries using certain markers, including efficiency, infrastructure, and business sophistication. In other news, Prime Minister Andrew Holness says plans are moving apace to deliver 70,000 housing units over the next 5 years. Mr. Holness says lands have been identified across the island to build the units. Agreements have been struck with public and private sector partners to construct dwellings for all income brackets. And with the planned divestment of the profitable Jamaica Mortgage Bank, the state will be able to raise funds to deliver housing for all sectors of the economy.
We will probably still retain some presence in the bank in terms of share ownership, but it will become a publicly owned limited liability company. It will expand the ability of the Jamaica Mortgage Bank to serve a much wider customer base. So if you were doing 8 or 10 projects per year, we are of the view that if you are privately held with access to private capital, with the incredible technical expertise that you have, that you would be able to finance 20 or 30 or 40 projects per year like this, which would accelerate housing development in the country.
Prime Minister Holness was speaking at the recent ribbon cutting and key handover at Genesis 28 on Waterloo Avenue in Kingston. The 28-unit complex was financed by the Jamaica Mortgage Bank. And finally, visitors to the Hope Royal Botanical Gardens will be welcomed to the property's eastern entrance with a newly designed gate. The $25.5 million structure, which was funded by the Culture, Health, Arts, Sports, and Education Chase Fund, reopened recently. Construction began in February to make the entrance more attractive to visitors. Additional works are to be done on the property to include lighting throughout the gardens, drainage, as well as expansion of restaurants and recreational areas. Minister of Agriculture and Fisheries Pernell Charles Jr. says plans are also in place to fix the roads within the garden.
It is very important for us to invest in protecting it, in nurturing it, in upgrading it. And this is truly impressive, and it really highlights the importance that should be placed on maintaining not just the Eastern Gate, but maintaining Hope Gardens as a feature of Jamaica.
And that's it for JIS News Today. I'm Stephen McHugh. Thanks for watching.
Our wildlife continues to be a significant part of the authentic Jamaican experience. Here's a look at how the National Environment and Planning Agency is ensuring that we all play our part in protecting and preserving our wildlife.
Bow your ears for a bit. Hear the trees wailing or the leaves grabbing your unwanted carbon dioxide. insects making a shrilling sound, and the tuneful noise of some unnamed and rarely seen creature reverberating within the bushes. Now open your eyes a bit wider. Watch ants band together in groups of hundreds, or wasps gathering wood shavings to build their next home, and birds preparing some sweet meal for your liking. All these make up the wildlife, those organisms that grow or live wild in any area.
Wildlife conservation is an attempt to preserve either a species or a population of a particular species, and by doing so, you in effect are also preserving its habitat because the species doesn't exist on its own. And there are different types of conservation. You have what they call in situ conservation, which is conservation within its natural habitat, and that is usually the aim of most, if not all, conservation efforts. And you have ex situ conservation, where you're trying to preserve the animals in a not so natural state, for example, in a zoo or in a controlled park area. And again, the goal is usually when their natural habitat is improved or protected in some way, then they try to repatriate those species back into their natural habitat.
And preserving the wildlife should be an important part of the human agenda. Here's why. It promotes the continuation of native plant species. Small animals like bees, butterflies, and our very own doctor bird play an important role in food production. Conserving these animals, protecting these animals, means that we are ultimately helping in pollination. It increases medicinal value. Plants are a major source of medication, but so too are animals. Take, for example, how research shows that the venom from the cobra can be used as an ingredient in making the medications for leprosy, or how lobsters can be used as antifungals. It's a way to preserve our heritage. Some plants and animals are unique to specific countries, so conserving those wildlife means conserving those traditional aspects of our culture, things like the blue maho plant or the yellow pui tree of Jamaica, and even the lions and leopards of Africa. It enhances food security by protecting natural habitats from degradation and forests against deforestation. The availability of a variety of food products increases.
Everyone needs to play a part. We have to understand that preserving the wildlife, it's not necessarily just for how it can benefit us, but we're also looking at the future generations. And so each person needs to be a little bit more responsible in what they're doing, where they dispose of garbage, cutting off areas and so forth. Understand the law, the Wildlife Protection Act, for example. One basic feature of it is that all native birds are protected. Don't catch the birds, We have hunting season, that is something that is actually regulated. But besides that, we try to encourage persons not to take matters into their own hands at times. Sometimes we have some species that we're trying to protect that are inherently can be a dangerous species, like a crocodile, for example. We encourage persons not to go out and try to catch those animals, but to call NEPA.
Here's your chance to do your part to conserve the wildlife.
Our island's public gardens offer a rich and quite tasteful experience. Here's a much closer look at the offerings of the Syncona and Hope Gardens.
They offer a large serving of nature with a dash of history and science. Public gardens, created and maintained to educate Jamaicans on the importance of plant life. They also provide free green spaces to enjoy the benefits of the great outdoors. There are 4 such spaces on the island, all supported by the Ministry of Industry, Commerce, Agriculture and Fisheries. And after making our way through Bath and trekking through Castleton in the first part of our journey, we're now 4,800 feet above sea level. The Cinchona Botanical Gardens, located in the cool, moist hills of East Rural St. Andrew.
Cinchona was first established in 1868 by the then Governor Sir John Peter Grant. At that time, the gardens was used as an experimental location. Various plants from other European countries were brought here for medicinal purposes, like the eucalyptus, the camphor, and other herbs are grown up here.
Cinchona is unique as it is the only garden in the Caribbean at such a high elevation.
Cinchona got its name at the time when there was a malaria infestation on the island, and that Cinchona plant was brought to Jamaica by a governor of Peru. The Cinchona plant was used to cure the malaria by way of extracting the bark of the plant and transforming that into quinine. And they used that to work on the malaria.
There are no conservation programs at Cinchona, but if you're feeling adventurous, make the hike and study an array of exotic plants on location, including the almost 200-year-old hoop pine. Our journey ends at the largest green space in the Kingston metropolitan area. Though run by the non-governmental organization Nature Preservation Foundation, it still receives a subsidy from the government and is free to the public.
Hope Gardens comprises of 260 acres stretching from Old Hope Road to Skyline Drive, but the actual gardens is mainly 60 active acres. The garden was a gift to Major Richard Hope, who was part of the contingency of Pennant Venables who came to conquer the island in about 1655 when the English invaded and took over from the Spanish.
Hope was an experimental site. They introduced exotic plants here and replanted them on the island once successfully propagated. Offspring of these plants remain in the garden.
We have the cannonball tree, which is native to the Amazon rainforest, that bears a fruit that takes 18 months to ripe, and it also weighs about 15 pounds. We also have the sausage tree, and that fruit can weigh anywhere between 15 to 27 pounds, and it really does look like a huge German sausage. The tree is native to West Africa, in Senegal.
Hope is vital in the conservation of the island's wildlife and flora.
We have a particular project in which we go to the cockpit country and get endemic plants, take them back to Hope Gardens, grow them and reintroduce them into the wild. The zoo also has a world-famous iguana project in which they have rediscovered the local Jamaican iguana, bred them successfully in captivity, and have introduced over 400 native iguanas into the hills of Hellshire.
This garden is usually bustling with activities. Family gatherings, professional photography, and school excursions are among the popular happenings.
The Chinese Garden is also a special place within the Hope Gardens. It was a gift, a $3 million US gift from the People's Republic of China to the people and government of Jamaica.
I like about Hope Gardens is that you are free. You can do anything you want. You can paint, you can play, you can go to the zoo, like see the animals.
My group came here because we have a history group project. We thought that coming to the Hope Gardens would be a good idea, especially on a Sunday, because on a Sunday It's quiet, and I think it's very conducive to practice. There's greenery and it's an open space. So, you know, you get a nice fresh breath of air while you're here, and it's, I think it helps you to focus more on what you need to do.
Hope Gardens is a getaway for persons wanting a break from the hustle and bustle of city life. A visit to public gardens provides this opportunity. Nature beckons. What are you waiting for?
Next, a sweet treat for our finances. Our team recently engaged with some of the nation's youth who are reaping some rather sweet rewards from their beekeeping business. Here are the highlights.
Me and my sister got started when we were very young. I think I was 6 or something around that age. And my mom had 4 hives. And that is the beginning of success.
The name of our family business is Maccabee Enterprise. Here at Maccabee Enterprise, we are all beekeepers, down to my 9-year-old sister, Camila.
Working with the bees is nice. It's less challenging than back in the days. Don't want to sound too old. It is fun now. I am more confident. Yeah. It is calming, soothing. Takes you out of this world, bring in another. So it's fun. It's actually fun. My role here on the farm is using an extractor to extract honey. There are many ways. I will be explaining 2 ways. First is the professional method where you use an extractor. So you have a capping knife, a knife with like a serrated edge, and you would uncap, which is a thin sheet of wax on top of the comb with the honey inside. So it's like a seal. So you use a knife and uncap that. Then you put it in the extractor and spin it, and it would flash out on the side of the extractor and drain to the bottom, and then you leak it out into a bucket. The other way is, well, when you don't have an extractor, is that you would use a capping fork, or you could use a regular fork, and you would hold the frame like this, long way, and you'd use the fork and gently scrape the frame. So you're taking off the comb, you're removing the comb from the frame in a sense. But you'd have on the frame, there is a sheet of wax that we would put on as beekeepers, foundation. So it would guide the bees, to build more small cells that would get more workers in the hive.
From the bees, we get 5 main products, right? We have pollen, propolis, beeswax, honey, and royal jelly. So based on those 5 things, we actually think about what we can do with those 5 things. So in beekeeping, we actually have honey flow periods and we have dirt season. Those are the 2 main periods. In between, we have like a pre-flow and pre-dirt, basically. But okay, so in our honey season, that's the time when they're on production. They're bringing in their honey, their pollen, everything on top. But for like in St. Thomas, there's like a 6-month period where there's dirt. There's no honey, no much honey that we can reap. There's just enough for them to feed themselves and their babies and be able to stay alive. In the dirt period, when there's not enough honey for us to harvest and be able to sell. We do things like remove our old combs and boil it out, and we get wax. With the wax, we do like the body butters, we do candles, lip conditioner. So that's the wax. With the pollen, we actually collect the pollen, and the pollen is a very good multivitamins. So we actually collect the pollen and dry it and package it for sale. For the royal jelly, we don't do a lot of work with the royal jelly. As we go along, we are actually developing products. So for the royal jelly right now, we put it in our honey wine. And then again, the honey wine is made from honey. My involvement in making the byproducts are production. I do most of the labels. I have help, so I can't take all the credit, but most of the labels are from me. I do social media marketing, so most of the WhatsApp texts, Instagram, they might mostly be from me. My younger siblings' involvement in the business is some help with the production, so there is some small things like shredding the wax that they can do. They help with the bees as well, because we're homeschool and we kind of tag along with our parents right through and through. So with the bees and with production. And my younger sister, she's very artistic. So when I'm actually doing the labels, sometimes she would draw this beautiful picture and I would actually use that as part of the label.
I have 4 personal hives for myself. I have 3 long struts, which is the regular kind of box that you would see that holds 10 frame, and they would stack on one on top of the other. And I have 1 top bar, which is a 30 frame box, which goes a long way. And it only has a top bar. It doesn't have the top bar with the square. It doesn't have a frame, it's just the top bar. My advice to other youth interested in beekeeping is you have to be persistent, and you have to be confident, and you have to be committed to beekeeping.
Beekeeping can be very wide. You don't have to just stuck with the bees, the sting, the honey. There is so much more that you can do. You can do candles. There is actually a shortage of beeswax candles. And beeswax candles are very easy. You mold, you wick, your color if you need, and you're done. Lip conditioner is another easy one. And if you go online, just take some of your time out of your texting and just research some products that you can actually do from the products that you get from the bees. The 5 products I mentioned, there's so much more.
After all that learning, we put the final pause here for today's show. Thanks for sticking through the Jamaica Magazine journey. We hope that today's experience offered you something to make your tomorrow a little better and more informed. From all of us here at the JIS, I'm Theodore Henry. See you soon.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.